Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Untraditional podcast. I'm your host, Rodney Truitt Jr. I am the founder and creative director at Untraditional, a branding studio focused on helping creators and brands grow, thrive, and achieve more through design. In this episode, we talk to my friend Future. He is a content creator on Twitch, and we talk about everything from his time that he served in the military to his lifelong dream of starting a charity. It's a good episode, the inaugural episode, so enjoy it. And thank you. Yo, guys, what is going on? My name is Fissure, also known as Rodney. Right is my real name. Should have said that the other way, but hey, it is okay. Welcome to the Untraditional podcast, the inaugural episode with my friend, streamer, content creator, Future. Future, what is going on?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Dude,
very honored to be first.
Sir. Yes, sir, dude. I am so excited to have you on the show. Dude, like I was telling you before we started recording, ever since I rated you on Twitch, I thought, dude, this guy is actually bringing it, man. Like, I love his demeanor. I love how he talks to his community, how he just interacts with the people that comes into his chat. Like, not like they're strangers, but like when you first come into the chat, you feel like family. And I definitely felt that. So, dude,
Thanks, man. On? That's a amazing compliment. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I try to make it feel that way too. And and that's why, it's weird. I never call it chat too. And it's just one of those things I always try to make people feel like, I don't know if it's like, I'm trying to say like I'm friends with each and every person. I don't know everybody's individual lives, but it's just like, I do want it to kind of be a place that people come hang out, get an escape from everything going on, and whether it's their daily lives globally with COVID, whatever it is. So I think it kind of makes people easier to connect.
Dude, 100%, man. I feel that, bro. Like, I don't know if you know this, but I call my chat family. So in my Discord, it's called the Fissure Family, PH.
I see, and I was trying to think of like I made it like, I've thought of a few different names, but Family of the Future is one thing that I sailed on. I thought of like the Jetsons, maybe because they were like an old cartoon. Dude. They were like the family that lived in the futuristic, the Jetsons, man. So I thought about that, but I realized like, dude, all these names are the same too. So I was trying to think of something. It's hard. It's hard to be very, very original, especially in these days, man.
Yo, I feel that so much, man. Like, it took me forever to kind of come up with what I came up, and it's even still, it's not super original. Like, everybody, like, well, some people have family. It's just PH instead of the regular F. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, but it works though too. I mean, there's a reason why it's kind of like there's so many fams or families or the pack, the whatever it is, the army. Dude. The army. So yeah.
One thing I really like, and I feel like we're kind of like diverting from what we're supposed to talk about, but I don't care. I don't know if you know who Syndicate is. His thing is the syndication. Like, I love that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I don't. That sounds familiar, dude. But I do like that though. The syndication. Nice.
He's a big like COD YouTuber. Started out in zombies like way back in the day, like 2010. But
that's what it kind of reminded me of too. For some reason, I thought it was like a COD person too. I don't know where I would. I don't know. Maybe I do know them. I just can't think of them on top of it. But I was huge in COD when I was like in high school. That was one of like the first games I played. I played. What was it? I tried to go pro gaming in like back in Halo 2, like original COD Modern Warfare days, and so I was all about that scene, man. And so I don't know if that's where I know it from, but man, that's where kind of like my whole gaming path kind of started from, was console. I actually just started doing like major PC stuff probably back when I started streaming, maybe like a few months before I started streaming. But before then it was all like Xbox and PlayStation, stuff like that. So
dude, man, you're giving me so many like question ideas, dude. I want to ask you about it all. But to kind of
shoot away, man,
dude, to kind of focus this thing right now, I want to know, dude, how did you grow up, my guy?
So I was originally born in California, out in San Jose, but I quickly moved. My parents unfortunately moved us to the Midwest when I was like 5. When I was like 5. So even though I was like, oh man, you're from California. Yeah, but I never grew up there. Kind of. I grew up in good old Missouri. So yeah, I grew up in in like North County of St. Louis. All the way from, like I said, when I was about 5. Lived in smaller towns here and there too, but mainly in northern Missouri, northern St. Louis County, Missouri, all the way until I graduated high school. And, kind of grew up with that, I don't know, it was kind of a weird mix of city and Southern hospitality type of thing, especially back then when I was growing up. That was back when, kids still played outdoors. So, this was, I feel like it's so long ago, but that was when we were begging to stay out past, that was back when everybody's curfew was when the street lights were coming off. You know what I mean? That's when your parents were about to beat you if you weren't inside before the street lights came off,
That's the good old days. The good old days.
Yeah. So, so I grew up in Missouri, and then after that, I wanted to get out. Like I had always, ever since I was a kid, man, I just wanted to get out. I definitely cherish it looking back on it. It definitely taught me good values, especially, after living in California eventually. And I've visited so many different places and seen different cultures. You're definitely, it was definitely a blessing, I guess, to grow up in the Midwest. But anyway, so I joined the military. There was a few different ideas I had thought of. Oh, one sec. Sorry, I had to cough for a second. So, man, I thought of going anything from law school to history teacher to acting. Acting was actually, when I was younger, when I was young and dumb, I thought, I was about to be a freaking movie star or something. But so I acted in like little local plays and stuff like that, and high school stuff. But I ended up going into the military instead of going to college because I really wanted to. I really wanted to give back in some way. I really wanted to serve. And I really wanted to travel the world. And so I joined the Navy like straight out of high school, and I was in there for 4 years.
Dude, wow.
Spent the first year kind of like training, and I spent a couple of years in different parts of the Middle East. Until I'd gotten injured almost 2 years in, and got my leg all messed up and ended up getting bad infection, ended up having to get sent back to the States eventually. But I was almost done with my time anyway, which is unfortunate. But so I came back, spent my last year in the States before I then got out. And then so I got out of the military. After my 4 years were up, and then what did I do from there? Yeah, I moved back to California. I was like, you know what? I was like, I traveled the globe a little bit, while I was in the military, which was pretty awesome. Had some good times, some not so good times, right? It definitely wasn't all flowers and candy over there in the Middle East, man. But met some of the best guys you'll ever meet in your life. After that, man, I kind of set my sights on school. So I went to school for computer science. Out there in SoCal, and then let's see. But then I'd actually kind of gotten recruited by Apple. So it was weird. I'd never like really thought of Apple as a plan or anything. It just kind of one of those opportunities that popped up out of nowhere, and so I ended up working for Apple for about 5 years as a consultant. And what I would essentially consult on is, I never really said what I did in the military either. But
we'll talk.
What I basically we'll talk about that too. But so what I basically did for Apple was a solutions consultant, and what I did is essentially made sure that we're making money. To be honest, it was kind of more of like a corporate stooge kind of thing. But so I worked out there mainly out of the main campus out there in Cupertino, and I essentially just managed some of our third party connections with like Best Buy, like Verizon. Stuff like that. Made sure that they were like, and basically in charge of making sure that these third parties were like making us a certain amount of money within each quarter, each fiscal year, stuff like that. And then of course that's making sure that they're trained properly, making sure that they're getting plenty of inventory, making sure that the brand's being taken care of and all these third parties. Cause Apple has some pretty high standards. But yeah, they definitely do. That maintains throughout the company. And you know what, man? And I will be honest, they were a great company. They treated me really, really well. But it wasn't what I'd really planned, what I'd really like dreamed of doing, right? And so that's kind of why I left Apple. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. I'm going a little long here, but so I'll kind of stop there for now. But yeah, so after I got off, I left from Apple after a little over 5 years, and then so I wanted to be back. I hadn't been near family in over 10 years, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna go off on a different path here, so I might as well let me move close to family. My brother just had some kids, and my mom and dad lives close by. They hate each other to death, but they
sometimes.
But they live. Man, I grew up. Yeah, that's another era I grew up in. Man, you pretty much you had a better chance of winning the lottery than running into a kid whose parents were still together. So,
dude, that is the weirdest analogy, but very true. Also at the same time, dude.
Man, it was yeah. So, unfortunately, they didn't get along too well, but at least they were still close by. So I figured, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go on a different path for now. So let me go spend some time with family. I hadn't been close to any for a long time. So yeah, that's how I ended up somehow back in Missouri, man. Never thought I'd ever be here. I never thought I'd be. I don't know if I could cuss or whatever on this, but I never thought I'd be back in Missouri, but here I am.
Dude, man, I've got so many questions, bro. As you were speaking, I was like,
yeah, sorry. You feel free to cut me off too.
Dude, it's all good. Don't worry about it. So I want to kind of take it back, and like you began telling me about the military, dude. How did that go?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Just start spewing out, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So I originally joined as an information systems technician, and what that is basically like an IT, and that's what I remember when I was young. I originally, like I said, I really thought I wanted to be like a history teacher because I loved history so much. I just loved learning about it, learning new things. It's funny learning new things about old things, right? So things that already happened. So, but it was always just so interesting to me. But, this was around, early 2000s, early mid 2000s, you know what I mean? So I was like, I kind of saw the way the future was going. The future was heading in the direction of technology. I just kind of saw it was about to boom. Yeah. Right. Y2K. I mean, not that long ago. Right. Y2K was a little while back now, but this was around 2006, 2007. I was really trying to decide. And so, kind of saw where technology was going. So I was like, let me go in that direction. I always had a knack for it. And it was always really interesting to me. The thing that always interested me about technology, or just that the whole world of that, is that it's always changing.
Oh yeah.
Right. Always. And the great thing about that is that you'll never know everything, right? So you're always constantly learning, and I always thought there's something really great about that, right? There's always something more to learn, and always different takes on things. But so yeah, that always really interested me. That's what always kind of grasped me about the whole technology field. But so that's what I originally joined in the military. And also it gave me like an opportunity to do something after the military. Because at that point I wasn't sure. I was like, hey, do I want to do this for 20 years? Do I want to get out after 4? What do I want to do? So I was like, hey, why don't I give myself a possible out for both? So I was like, I tested pretty well. So I was like, all right, let's go in for this information systems technology. That'll give me, possibly if I want to do some IT stuff after I get out, then that gives me the freedom to. So originally I went in for that, but also in my mindset, I'm like, hey, man, I joined to do something. I joined to serve. I joined to make a difference or do whatever, right? You never know what the hell that even means, making a difference. But I joined to actually, help in somewhat way. And the biggest thing going on right then, obviously, was all the wars in the Middle East. So I'd sign up for that. My original contract for the Middle East actually was accepted, but then rejected. But not anything because of me, because they had limited. It was just kind of like a random of the draw, like, oh, hey, sorry, these contracts we don't need these anymore.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, because usually they don't send people straight out of school anyway. Because whenever you go into the military, you do have like your A school, then you have like, you have boot camp first, then you have your A school, and then sometimes people have like B or C schools, and then they go on and do whatever they got to do. But after that, yeah, so I was in Bahrain at the time, which is a country in the Persian Gulf.
Okay.
It's a small little Middle Eastern country, man. We didn't have a SOFA agreement with them, which is kind of like a SOFA agreement is kind of like a legitimate agreement between the two like the United States and that country. We were on good terms, but they basically called it the Las Vegas of the Midwest, right? So it wasn't too dangerous at that in Bahrain. Exactly right. Plus, it's isolated in the sea. But so what I did there is I was the network operations center administrator. And not initially. I built my way up because I was just fresh in the military. But I was the youngest. This is kind of funny because we call them Navy sailors, right? Mm-hmm. So I was the youngest sailor in Navy history to become an administrator of a network operations center. Wow. So that was pretty cool. Kind of busted my ass for that. So what you start out as is basically like standard operator and, just typing in code and do 12-hour watches. Man, those days were crazy because we would have to do 3 days. So we basically have 12-hour rotation of watches, right? You would have 3 days on and 2 days off. But the crazy thing is that you would switch from AM watches to PM watches every rotation.
Oh.
So I would be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the 3 days. I'd have 2 days off. Then I'd have 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next 3 days.
Bro, I bet
I don't know how I said that, but
sleep schedule off
dude, I was 18. To me, I was like, no. It's crazy. I didn't think it. To me, I was just like whatever at the time. But thinking back on it now, and also like the older guys at that time, I was just like, dude, how the fuck did they did it? I don't understand, dude. I wouldn't. You couldn't pay me enough to do that anymore. Especially these days, man. No way. I couldn't do it. But back then, I don't know, man. It didn't, it's crazy looking back on it, but it was just something like, okay, this is what we got to do. But, yeah, so yeah, worked my way up there. I can't remember how long exactly it took, but, so I was there for doing that for about 9 months before I got recruited into a team called DevGroup, which is a special team, basically development group is what DevGroup stands for, but it's a special support team for special forces for the Navy SEALs. Mm-hmm. Most significantly SEAL Team 6. SEAL Team 6, I don't know if they have him attached to multiple SEAL teams. Now, I wasn't a Navy SEAL. What they do is that this was kind of like a special program of a collective of different specializations, right? So I was like IT. You can be of different jobs attached to the development group that helps assist in, on the Navy SEAL team bases, or just different operations, stuff like that.
How many people are picked for these things?
Oh, shoot. Whenever I was originally... Whenever there was a whole application process. I know it starts off with a few thousand, and then there was at the end, was there 6 or 8 of us chosen? Wow. But you had to go through like a physical test, and then you had to go through a medical test, and then you also had to go through a psychological test to see if you were mentally prepared for it. And even though there's really no way to completely tell, right? The people always ask me, it's like, man, what was it like? What was it like? it's like, and they have you talk to a psychiatrist too, right? Like a military psychiatrist, they just ask you a ton of questions. They have you take a mentality test, basically a test letting you know if you're crazy or not. Like, right. Are you going to go nuts? Or are you going to be all right? What's going on? Are you already nuts? Or are you going to go even crazier? But it's basically just make sure that you're mentally fit. And honestly, there's really no way to really tell until you get there. I guess there's a way to tell if people are already crazy, but the point is, it's like, you really don't know how you're going to react to that kind of terrible until you see it.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
So how grueling is the process for that? Was it very intense, like, or was it not that intense? I know it's dealing with the military, so it has to be some level of intensity that's coupled along with that.
Yeah, it's weird. I just kind of like always, whenever I kind of set my mind on something, man, I don't really think too much about the odds. I kind of just tell myself what I got to do. What are the requirements? What do I got to do in order to make this happen? And then put in the hours to make it happen. Right. People always try to think that there's like some kind of crazy equation, or like, oh man, this guy's so much better at me than doing this. And this person just knows so much more than I do in this. But honestly, for most things, it comes down to hard work. It comes down to people putting in more hours putting in more hours than you. To be honest, I mean, there are definitely skill gaps and knowledge gaps in different things, but in most things, it's really how much with knowledge. It's just about being able to learn something more. With school, whatever it is in school, they're just telling you what's in books, right? So I don't know, I'm kind of going off on a trek here, but how would I say this? Whenever I kind of think of something I got to do, right? Because the competition was kind of grueling. I would just always be putting in as many hours as I could, because my thought process is, whenever I'm not doing something to accomplish what I'm trying to do, somebody else is working harder than me. Right. When I'm not putting in the time, somebody else, to me, it's just like, okay, I know somebody else must be putting in the time and they're going to get it over me, or whatever it is. Right. So that's kind of just like the way I kind of think about things.
Dude, so obviously you're correct, dude. I'm somewhat the same way. I'm not the exact same way. Like, whenever I put my mind to something, I like to go through all the possible outcomes and then head for that, so that if I meet a different outcome than what I personally want, then I know how to react. So I understand to that extent. But I want to ask you, man, what type of like tests did they have you go through, besides like just the physical, mental, and I want to say health tests? Like, it's like the
So that was pretty much it. So initially they send you. So the first step is like, you have to be able to run 3 miles within like 18 minutes. I forgot about. You have to do a certain amount of push-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that. So, because in the military, you have a basic physical fitness standard where you have to run 1.5 miles in a certain amount of time, do a certain amount of push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, stuff like that. But of course, for a team like that, they want you to be a little bit more fit than the average Joe. So, so you have a little bit higher standards. They weren't crazy, because, like I said, we weren't putting in to be Navy SEALs, and that wasn't really what I wanted, right? But other than that, you go through the physical fitness test, which is one of the overlying thing that's going on. But as far as the mental test, I forgot exactly what they called it. But yeah, it's basically just a test that's, it was kind of like taking it's basically a bunch of tests of like, how you handle certain situations, your thought process whenever you are aggravated or happy, sad. It was kind of, honestly, it was so long ago too. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember like exact questions or anything. Yeah. But yeah, so it was basically like just, it wasn't like a, hey, do you know math and English kind of test. It was more of like a, are you in a sane, how do you handle stressful situations? How do you handle all this stuff mentally? And then you had to talk to and then one of the final steps was talking to a board of like a master chief, one of the senior chiefs, and then people involved with the program, and then also the psychiatrist, or was he a psychologist? Is that the same thing?
Psychologist, no. Psychiatrist. And
okay. One of those. He was a psychiatrist, right? So and he was the guy who basically divvied out the tests and was basically there to help them judge, how everybody's mental fitness was that they were reviewing.
So when you go into that room, what is your mind thinking? Like, okay, I'm surrounded by prestigious men and women, and then there's this psychiatrist or psychologist, whichever one, that evaluated you, who knows if you crazy or not. Like, how did you perceive that, and how did you go about through that process?
Man, I've never, what's weird, dude? It's some things I get nervous with when it comes to, I've always been kind of night and day in this way. It's whenever it comes to like entertaining and stuff like that, that stuff I get nervous with. But when it comes down to like business, anything in work, and I think this is, I've been able to accomplish a lot of most of the things I set out to do. I've been able to accomplish, and it's because I feel like the mindset that I was telling you, but also whenever it comes to like business stuff like that, man, I don't get, for some reason, it just doesn't like rattle me. Right. But that's also because, like I said, I always make sure I'm prepared. I always make sure that I'm putting into work, that, that I'm going into that room as confident as I possibly can be and as prepared as I possibly can be.
Dude, that is a trait that I wish that I attained in or have. And
don't worry. I lack in plenty of other traits. No.
I feel like a lot of other people would honestly say the same thing, but moving on from there, dude, I want to know, like, what got you out of the military? I remember you were saying that you had an injury a couple years in and you didn't know if you wanted to continue it or not. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that was what was it? Actually, shortly into this program, and that's not actually what had me thinking about getting out. What had actually happened first, I'd already decided actually by then, and what had me decide, because I was basically being groomed into an officer, grooming into being an officer, and so once I had started getting, it started basically my commanding officer and like my senior chiefs, and basically, I don't know, this doesn't really mean anything, but basically like supervisors of mine had basically approached me, and they just liked the work I'd been doing. Like I said, I was able to be the youngest sailor to become the operations center administrator in history, which was really awesome. And then, what was it? And like I said, I would always, just kept busting my ass as much as I could. Always trying to put in a good impression. But eventually started making some waves. And plus it's somewhat of a small base too, right? It's not like, so people hear about it. And so, yeah, they started talking to me about my future, and they were saying, hey, we were kind of wondering what your future plans are for the military. Because I was an enlisted personnel at this time, right? So I was an E3, E4 at this time. I think it was E4. Yeah, I was an E4. So I was a petty officer, third class. And dear God, could the Navy have like just any worse names? That was one of the most discouraging things. You couldn't even look up to being promoted in the Navy. You went from being a seaman to a petty officer, because that's what you had. So you have, oh my gosh. So we're going to take a little bit of a turn here, but the worst is, because, military guys, man, they have the darkest humor, but still some of the greatest guys.
True.
You have what was it? Because when E1, you're a seaman recruit. What was it? Then like seaman apprentice, and then just a seaman. And if you had a last name that just worked a little too well with that seaman first name, you were definitely ratted on.
Oh,
you definitely got a preferential treatment, you know. So but yeah, man, it was so crazy because it's like all of the, I don't know why all the rankings in the Navy, man, you just go from seaman to petty officer, but then once you finally make chief, which, you know, that just takes way too long. But anyway, sorry, I get sidetracked sometimes. But anyway, so they were talking to me. They're like, "Hey, do you want to go down this road of, you know, continuing going up the enlisted ladder, or do you you're thinking about becoming an officer?" Because they were like, "Hey, we have these programs where you could easily become an officer. We can send you to complete your schooling, and complete your degree, and then you would come back and you'd be an officer for 6 years, at a minimum, and then kind of go from there." And at this point, I was already about 2 years in. So
I don't want to stop you real quick, but I'm going to. How old?
Yeah, no problem. How old was I?
Yeah. Or how old are you right now?
Oh, dude. So this is I've kind of kept my age a mystery at this point.
Okay.
So sorry, I was kind of disconnecting here. Were you able to hear me though?
No.
So yeah, I've been I've been keeping my age a mystery, man. Shoot.
You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll keep the mystery a prize for now.
Okay.
But
it's all good.
But yeah, too old for the internet. How about that?
Dude.
I'm probably a boomer in internet years. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but I'm not that old. I'm not that old, man. Somebody thought I was 7. Somebody told me, they're like, you look like you're 17. I was like, oh my God, what? Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm about to say, I don't know if that person's trying to get on my good side or
yeah. So, but yeah, so yeah, sorry, that's kind of been like a mystery of the kind of been one of the mysteries of the stream. But so yeah, so we go so yeah, sorry, they were asking me what if I wanted to go down the path of an officer. So at this point I was a little, what is it, about 2 years in. And so I was thinking, I was like, well, if I take this since it's a minimum 6-year requirement after I accept it and after I become an officer, I would essentially be in the military for 10 years, right? By the end of that 6 year, you know, by the end of it was all said and done at that first contract, I would be at a 10-year mark. And so for me, I'm trying to think way ahead. So I'm like, for me, if I'm already, what am I going to do? Get out of the military after 10 years and just go do what else? Right. So I was like, well, I might as well retire then. If I'm going to stay in 10 years, I might as well go the full 20 and get the retirement and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of made it basically a decision of, well, do I want to retire out of the military or do I not want to retire out of the military? Do I want to go try venture on somewhere else? And you know, even though the military, I think it would have still been a great decision as well too. And, you know, it was a necessary part of my life and just such a, you know, it just added so much more responsibility to me. You know what I mean? It just made me such a better person and such a more responsible person and added so many good attributes to my life. But I also thought that, especially after being out in the Middle East, man, so you just see things, you hear things, you find things, and you're just like, you know, I don't want that to be my life for that, even though that wouldn't be like, you know, I wouldn't be spending 20 years there. But I just thought eventually, you know what, I think I'm going to do my 4 years and I think I'm going to get out. I think I'm going to venture on to not necessarily greener pastures, but different pastures. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I ended up deciding there. I was like, you know what, I'll just get out after my 4 years and yeah, continue my journey, man.
Dude, so what about that injury that, you know, really caused you to go home? What's all that about?
So basically I got my foot sliced open while on a mission, and then it got infected with a staph infection.
Ooh.
yeah, with what was it? It was some staph infection native to the Middle East. It was, oh my gosh, man, it's been so many years now. Man, I used to know the name of it like literally off the top because I had to deal with this crap for years. Yeah, I had to deal with it for years after that, man. That was a crappy time. Man, I can't think of it now. It's so crazy, and it's so great too because for some years after that, that's all it was about was trying to heal up and get that taken care of. So it's great. It's crazy. I can't remember it now, but it's also a good thing because it's like one of those things where it was just always on my mind for so long. So, but yeah. So, anyways, that's what happened. It was just a staph infection after my foot got sliced open. And then yeah. So yeah, it sent me up a little bit early, but not too much. Not too much. I think it was like maybe a couple months early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So
yeah.
not too long. I was thinking it was like a little bit longer, but dude, that is wild. So was it obviously it was a bad enough injury to send you home a couple months early. So what was the recovery process from that like?
Ooh, a lot of surgeries because I'd had some like inner like vascular issues that I never knew about because I never had to deal with anything like this. I never had any major injuries when I was growing up. I played sports and stuff when I was a kid. But mainly it was like basketball, baseball, football outside in the neighborhood, but and then not like organized football. But I never had like a major injury, so I never realized. I guess I had what was it? Arterial something. I don't have great blood flow in my bottom of my legs or something like that, or just in one of that leg. Of course, it's that leg that got injured. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just had bad blood flow, and so I wasn't able to heal up right. So yeah, or for a very long time. So I had to have a bunch of surgeries and whatnot. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And plus with staph, if it doesn't get taken care of, you can technically die. Like you can die from staph, but it didn't get to that part. Like it didn't get anywhere close to that with me, luckily. So
I've got family over and I'm sorry.
Dude, no problem at all, man. Hey, you know what? It's, it's so funny because that's, I told you that's why I came back to Missouri, man, was to finally be back around the family, and then like I just regretted it like 10 days in. So I'm just like, damn, I forgot this. Yeah, that's right. This is what it's like to be around family again. So yeah, man, I totally get it,
dude. Okay, so kind of
you have to love family, right? You're supposed to love them, right?
Supposed to
okay.
Love them. You don't have to like them though, let me tell you that. You don't gotta like them, you just gotta love them. So fast forward a little bit, man. So you get out of the military, and then you quickly turn around and you go to college.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was your major? You already said computer science. So tell me more about that. Tell me about your college years.
So computer science, because that was kind of like I said, like what I had planned when I originally went to the military is like I can always fall back on, computer technology into that field. And so that's what I knew. And it was boom. It was, if you wouldn't major in computer science, you were just you were getting the jobs thrown at you. Right. So, and it was also one thing that was also important too. And it wasn't just because I knew there were computer science jobs out there too. It was something I really enjoyed. Right. And that's one thing I think is really important. Oh my gosh. Sorry, having to cough up. But that's one thing I always think is really important is, making sure that it's something I'm also like passionate about too. Which kind of leads why I left Apple, but that's for, in a minute. But, because I think, sometimes people just focus way too much on making money, right? So people focus way too much on making money and not how you make money. And even though, I think we're definitely in a very, very rough time where people don't have the luxury. They don't always have the luxury to, do what they're passionate about to make money right now. They just got to get it where they can. But as far as like the younger crowd and, the younger generation trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, that's very important, is trying to figure out what you're passionate about, not if it's going to make you money. My big belief, man, is if you're really passionate about something, there's two prerequisites. You got to be really passionate about something, and you got to be really, really good. You actually got to be good at it. Because I think it takes a lot of self-reflection. Like, you got to be honest with yourself. You can't just be passionate and be shitty at it. Like, it's just not, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
So you got to be passionate. If you're passionate about something, and if you are, whether it takes talent or skill or, knowledge in your passion, right? Because different passions take different skill sets or different, anyways, then you will eventually be successful in one way or another, right? It may not be, the next day, it may not be for a few years, 5 years, but I do believe, like, if you find something you're truly passionate about and that you are actually good or knowledgeable in that, you will be successful, because you're just going to be doing it better than the other people out there doing it that are just doing it because of the money.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times, like, I feel like there are like different levels of success, and people oftentimes miss these in between times for the high points, and they want to get to the high points, but they haven't yet gone through the in between times yet. Like, to get to where you do make that amount of money.
Well, yeah, because I think, especially because everything is so accessible nowadays. People don't see, people don't understand, or not. I wouldn't say people don't understand. I say a lot of the younger generation, it's not even like I'm not saying it's at a fault either. It's just like a lot of people are so used now to getting everything instantaneously. Yeah. It's very, when it's like, well, wait, it's going to take me 5 years to be successful in something that I'm trying to do. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm good at it. And, I should just be successful. I should be rich. I should be throwing money around like Lil Wayne. Right. So dude, Lil Wayne's going back to prison. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. Like, anyway, I said, as soon as you said that, I was like, okay, he's probably going to bring this up, and I'm going to be like, I know. I don't actually I don't actually know what he's going to prison for. At least I don't think so. I heard it was
they found the gun and like some drugs and something on him. I don't know. It was like personal use stuff. He wasn't like, moving Colombian cocaine or anything.
It's Lil Wayne. What you expect?
Yeah, right. Got to live that lifestyle, man. But what were we talking about? I think about Lil Wayne, and then I just like losing my mind.
We were talking about success and actually making money.
Oh yeah. Obviously, success, Lil Wayne. It's easy to make that connection. So yeah, man. That's why I think it's, people just are so used to getting things instantaneously, right? Or getting, whether it's with social media, whether it's with friends, whether it's with you can get anything right away. You can get groceries delivered. You can get a ride right away. You got Tinder. You can get a date just as soon as you freaking want. You know what I mean? Like, you literally just get anything you want, man. It's crazy. I was watching something about this. I'd watched something about this a while back, but I mean, I don't want to go on that tangent. But anyways, but yeah. So, going back to the original point, that's just kind of like my main thought process is going with something that I'm passionate about, man, and something that I know that I have a knack for, or or at least am at least knowledgeable or know what I'm doing. So,
how'd you get to where you knew you were passionate about it, other than the military, or did the military really like groom you to be passionate about computer science?
So I was always kind of liked reading a lot. I was kind of like reading about new things, right? New and interesting things. And I remember when I was a kid, is just reading about computers and the way the internet worked, and just the way these computers worked. And that's when I built my first computer when I was like around 14. I just saw a PC magazine and it said 20 easy steps to make your own computer, and I just found the crappiest computer parts I possibly could get my hands on, and and followed the 20 steps and, built this, crappy computer that could probably barely run Minesweeper. So, but, but it worked out. So, it's just kind of like, and I'd really enjoyed it. And like, what I was talking about earlier, it's, always being able to learn something new and always, and knowing that going down the road of like computers and technology, I would never know everything. Because I think, I don't get how people do that sometimes. It's because I would think it would get boring. And luckily with most jobs, there's always something new to learn and, stuff's always innovating. But that's where I think, technology is the most interesting in that way, because it's at a constant change and constant improvement. So yeah, man. So yeah, and that's what kind of just always drew me towards it. And then knowing I kind of had a knack for it, I was just able to understand computers from whenever I was young, and I knew I had a passion for it, or at least really liked doing it, because it was just something I loved doing in my free time, and I didn't have to get paid to do it. So,
dude, I feel that my wife doesn't understand why I like computers as much as I do. But I love it because it enables me to create more, to do what I do, to game, honestly. But it's such a like widespread thing that it can open up so many different pathways to different things that you like to do that you can go down. It doesn't just have to be electronically. But it opens up so many different segues to different types of, hobbies, passions, jobs that you never knew that you can go down just from computers in and of itself. So I'm 100% with you. I feel that.
Yeah, I think the most fascinating thing about computers or just technology, man, is the mystery of them, because nobody really knows the extent to where the future is going to look like, because of the way technology is. And I think that's kind of like a fascinating mystery of something that it just not knowing where it's going to go, but know that it has really great possibilities.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it's almost scary to think like, okay, computers, will they take over? Like you or technology, will they take over? It's almost a little bit scary and daunting to think about the future in that way. So yeah, I'm 100% with you, dude. So college, what?
Oh yeah, so sorry about that. I know I forgot to answer the rest of that question there. So yeah, I was originally planning on going through USC and then finishing up graduate at Stanford, but so I was going in computer science, but then. And, it was great. It was great. Like I said, it was just kind of like, staying at college, man. One thing that I think that was great about me going to college after the military and not, I thought it was once I like started, like, I don't know how to say this, but anyway, I just kind of knew it was a good decision, because I knew I was taking college more serious than I would have at 18. I just wouldn't have taken it that seriously, and I really understood, like, what the value of it, and just I was putting in much more effort than I knew I would have at 18, man. Like, there's just no way I would have put in that much effort. But it's great, because you're getting the most out of those classes and getting the most out of what you're learning. So I'd planned on going into a graduate at Stanford, but then I had gotten and kind of caught up with Apple. And so that was kind of an out of the blue thing. Like I said, it was not like a dream I had or anything. It was like, oh man, one day I want to work for Apple. What was it? It was, how did I get introduced with him? Oh, a buddy of mine. So yeah, a buddy of mine I'd worked with, because I was working like a Best Buy job, And just because I wanted to, I didn't need to. Like the military, the cool thing about the military, man, and going, they have a post 9/11 GI Bills where they pay for all your housing, they pay for your books, they pay for like $1,000 a year books, but they pay for your classes obviously, and then they pay for they give you a monthly allowance, and it's more than, even though they call it the housing allowance, it's more than what you need for housing. Obviously, you can buy whatever you want with it. And of course, I'd saved money and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I didn't need to, but I was just like, you know what, I still have free time. And, I was like, it was just something I was like, I kind of feel like just doing it. You know what I mean? So I wanted to work with people. And so, yeah, was working with people, working with technology. And, there was a friend of mine who worked for a Best Buy out there. And so I was like, oh, sure, I'll check it out. Just for just for the fun of it.
Just for the lulz.
Yeah, and it was interesting. It was an interesting company, man. Especially they're going through a crazy time too. They're going through a really crazy time where Best Buy almost shut down completely. Like the company almost went under. Wow. Yeah, they were so low as to like $12 a share at one time. Ooh. Yeah, it was bad. But then they called it. They hired a new CEO who he was able to turn it around. But anyway, so that's where I kind of got tied up with these Apple guys. Just started work conversations, stuff like that, and then they found out more about me and how I'd been in the military and how really understand computers, and I was they liked the way I was with how I handle people and interpersonally and stuff like that. So yeah, they had me interview for a job. They're like, hey, do you want to, would you be interested in working for Apple? And so I was like, shoot, why not? Apple was on top of the sky, right? They kind of still are, but especially back then, man, they were just literally on top of the world. So this was after Steve Jobs. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Steve Jobs. So yeah, that was unfortunately, he was already gone. But I did get to meet a lot of cool people. It was a really great environment. You know what? It's funny because people always tell me like, "Oh my God, you work for Apple? They're terrible." And whether they're pro Android or pro Apple or whatever it is. One thing I'll give Apple though, man, which really surprised me. Well, what surprised me about them the most is that they are how they kind of like, how can I say this? How they try to, make people, how they perceive themselves out in the world, right? How they project themselves in the world. That's actually how they are internally as a company, right? As like, cause they always, project themselves out in the world as like, oh, hey, we always want to try to give back, or we're always like this really environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, and employee friendly, and we really care about people. Company. A lot of the times, you think companies are just bullshitting you, right? Like, oh, this is part of the is part of the brand, is part of the marketing employee, right? Is part of you trying to get us to love, trying to get us to love you as a company, right? But man, they really held completely to that standard the entire time I was inside of there. I never had a better learning experience than when I worked with them.
So their brand values are like the same throughout wherever you find
them? through and through. I mean, like as far as like just having their employees aware, how much they push for their employees to do charity work, contribute. They match all your contributions up to ×2 of all of your charitable contributions, which is insane. The amount of not just the amount of training, but the quality of training that they send you to is outstanding. The quality of like the leadership. I'd say I've never learned more than when I was with Apple. Especially from a business sense, they've probably got like the best damn marketing team on the planet. And definitely the best lawyers on the planet.
I believe so.
But yeah.
Dude, that's so cool. That's so cool. So, um, what were your like day to day things that you did for Apple, if you can speak about them?
Um, yeah, there's not too much in. Yeah, there's some NDA stuff. But what I essentially did is, um, so I was called a solutions consultant, and I essentially just helped us, um, in our third party relationships, right, with third party retailers, essentially. So basically, I had an overall quota for each quarter in every fiscal year, right? So basically, I have to make sure that these third party retailers are selling a certain amount of Apple products every quarter or every, through every fiscal year, essentially. But also have to make sure that that their personnel are all properly trained, making sure that they're being properly, they have the proper inventory, making sure that the brand awareness is there, making sure that the brand is being adequately um, shown in these stores, right? Because, like I said, Apple has a crazy standard, right, for the way that their products look everywhere, right? Especially even these third parties, because they really believe that, even the way that customers view their products and third parties make a huge impact, which it does, right? And it definitely shows, because if you go into like any like a cell phone store or or like a Best Buy or a Target, and all of a sudden, you walk by an Apple, like you walk by the Apple station, like by the Apple section, and it's just like gleaming, right? It's just such a huge difference. It stands out.
Very much so.
It stands out kind of like a shining example, right? And so that's what I was saying. That's one thing they just do extraordinarily well is their branding and their marketing. They're just absolute geniuses in that fashion.
Yeah, they always are. Apple would be one company that I don't think I could ever work for, just because they're so strict with a lot of their things, and sometimes you have to be. But
Yeah.
me and of myself, I feel like I would go crazy after a couple of years. Like, a couple of rules that need to be broken.
Well, I mean, it's weird. I mean, they obviously they also want you to express yourself freely. They're really big on on employee feedback too, right? Because they understand that that's where real creativity comes from, is freedom of expression and how freely you express yourselves, right? And so but of course they know that they got to make money, and that's part of the ultimate goal. But I don't know, man, it was definitely a very interesting time, and it was, like I said, I was never like dissatisfied with my job there, or with my work there, or with any of the people there, man. Just extraordinarily smart people. Like I said, I just learned so much. I learned so much working there. Right. Some I may not use for the rest of my life, but a lot of it, especially the business acumen, I 100% will always be able to use that. And all of the, just the brand awareness and marketing strategy that I was able to learn from them is just, invaluable. So,
Dude, that is wild. It sounds like you had a almost once in a lifetime opportunity to.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That is incredible. Like, most people don't get those, but it seems like, coming from your demeanor and how you take things, that you really took it by the head, and like, hey, if I'm here, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to achieve the things that I need to achieve, that I want to achieve.
Yeah, man. I think you always got to make the best of every situation, right? Even though it's hard to do that sometimes, right? I think it's so you really got to, whatever you're doing, you got to be present. And you might as well just make the most of it. I mean, but especially with the situation working with Apple, man, it was just overall was amazing. But like I said, really at the end of the day, it wasn't even them why I left. It was really just, at the end of the day, it was just a passion thing. I'd strayed away from the passion of computers, and the passion of, like, I'd always really loved entertaining people, and and games and stuff like that too. But I'd strayed away from that when I was, because I did a bunch of like acting and stuff like that when I was in high school and younger and stuff like that. But but yeah, so why I left Apple though, because like I said, it was they were just such a great company, but I'd kind of lost. I'd strayed away from it. Right, I wasn't working really with computers. Right, I was just working with a computer company. You know, and so yeah, and even though I made great money, had a great living, worked for a great company. Man, anybody, I'm telling you, nine out of 10 people in my position, man, they would just wrote it out. We kept climbing the ladder. I was definitely up for a promotion. I could have stayed in Apple for 20 years, man. But I didn't. At the end of the day, just wasn't something I was passionate about. And even though I could have been very successful for the next 20 years of my life, man, I just decided it's not worth it. So yeah, man, I just kind of cut it off there. Thanked him for such an extraordinary 5 years, and yeah, ended up left California and moved here in Missouri and back here close to family, thankfully, I think. And but yeah, like I said, it was a crazy about 10 years I was gone. That's the closest we'll get to age. It was about a 10-year span, but
I keep wanting to press you to tell me your age, but I know that's you, so I won't do that.
And it was, to me, it's not even a big deal, but it kind of became a big deal for them, and so they kept trying to guess and stuff. So dude, I don't know. Maybe I'll do some type of like reveal thing down the road. I don't know.
I got you. So after leaving Apple, what did you do afterwards?
So now my main focus is I still do some consulting, like computer networking consulting, but I'm back. I'm going back into school for law, and I basically want to. There's a couple things I want to do. My long-term goal, which I've always been. This is what I've really been passionate about, man. Is I want to start my own charity or my own nonprofit eventually down the road. Right? It takes a lot of preparation, a lot of planning, capital, client base. Oh my gosh, sorry. So yeah, that's going to take some time. So
I know all about that. Starting my own company, wanting to have the clientele, but don't have the clientele, wanting to have capital. you got to do with little to make more.
Yeah.
So trying to keep the overhead very small.
Yeah, right. And this is like a nonprofit kind of charity that I'm trying to, but so this is for down the road. This isn't for like, like a career type of thing. But so yeah, like I said, I kind of strayed away from what I wasn't passionate about. And so, like I said, I'd always really been interested in the idea of becoming a lawyer to help people. When I was younger, and I kind of got back into that. So yeah, I figured while I was studying, I was like, man, I found Twitch, and that's kind of how I found Twitch. Is that I had so much free time again that I'd started, browsing the internet, messing around with some video games again, because I didn't play video games for a while, man. Even though I'd loved them so much when I was younger, man, and it's all I did for so much too. So but yeah, so I'm going. Sorry. I'm going back into school now for law. I don't know what practice exactly, but I'm thinking criminal law. I don't know if I want to do a defense or prosecuting yet, but it's mainly just to try to do what I can to help defend or prosecute people. We'll see. There's still a decision to be made. And I know it sounds crazy, right? Because you would think I'd been on this planet for like 50 years by all these things I'm trying to do, right? But I don't know, man. It's just like, I think just at the end of the day, I'm going to be happy that I kind of just, I decided what I wanted to do and I just decided to do it.
Dude, I tell my wife that literally it's just the pursuit of happiness. It is at the end of my life, do I want to be upset with the things that I never accomplished, and also upset with the things that I did do that weren't good enough? Or do I want to be happy at the end of my life and have a full life and say that, hey, I did this. Like, no one else can take this away from me, but my stamp of approval is on it, and I did that thing that I always wanted to do. And I tell myself that every single morning that I wake up, that I don't want to do anything. That, hey, you want to be great, don't you? So you gotta kick
Yeah,
yourself into gear every single day.
absolutely. Yeah, you got to earn it every day, man. But also, I mean, dude, and I left a crazy, amazing situation. My dude, like people thought I was crazy. My like my family thought that I had like secretly gotten fired or like was just doing something crazy because they're like, because think about it, like I'm in the middle of a great career. I was living in an amazing place in Northern California. I could have easily just gotten a promotion and kept on moving up the ladder for the next 20 years in Apple. But they're like, well, wait, you want to leave? you want to leave and do what now? And just completely switch gears? And after all this time and what? So I don't know, what I mean? So they thought I was a little crazy, but you know what? Um, they also thought I was a little crazy when I went out on a whim. And man, when I left for California after the military, dude, I didn't have any plans. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any set plans, but I just knew it was something I needed to do, something I wanted to do, something I wanted. And, I just believed in myself, man. And I know it sounds kind of crazy and cheesy as hell, but I just I just knew it was something I really wanted to do. And I knew, so I just figured out what I had to do to make it work. And, so yeah, man, you find a job, find some, find a school you wanted to go to. And, yeah, man.
You just do what you got to do. I understand.
Pretty much. I know it kind of sounds like such a simplistic, answer or thing to say, but at the end of the day, it's really what it comes down to.
Right. So in the midst of trying to figure out what you wanted to do, you found Twitch. How long have you been on
Yeah.
Twitch?
Crazy. It's probably been about 6 months now, I think.
Dude.
I had to, like I said, I had a little bit of hiatus there, but only for like a couple of weeks, maybe. So, but yeah, maybe 6 months, which is crazy. It's 6 months now because it feels like it hasn't been that long. But yeah, it has to be 6 months now. Yeah.
Dude, so
because I'm realized because my like badge updated recently. That's right.
dude, that's cool, man. Like to see you taking off and have a follower base and a community that's behind you that literally backs you with everything that you're doing. I remember when you took off that time, people would come into my Discord who are in your Discord and begin to say, "Hey, do you know where Future's at?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't. I haven't talked to him." Um, for them to do that speaks highly of you and what you do with them. So that's congratulations are in order because that's not an easy thing to do.
Man, I don't know if I'm taking off, but I will say, man, I don't know if my stream's taken off or anything, but no, but it's been cool. I mean, especially, well, I will say I couldn't have asked for like the first few months to go any better than it did, man. It was insane because like we got what was it? Was able to get affiliate after the first month, which let's be honest, affiliates like like if you're breathing on Twitch, you're affiliate pretty much. You know what I mean?
Honestly, let me tell you this before you go into this. I looked you up. You are in the top 2% of Twitch. So
What?
Just think of that right there. You're in the top 2%, and the average
What?
it takes people around 2 years to get affiliate, depending on how much and how often they stream. 2 years. Well, let me say a year.
Really?
Yes. So
wait, how am I in the top 2%,
dude,
of like affiliates?
no, of people in Twitch, like viewer status, everything. You were in the top 2%. Along with just other content creators. Like, of course, there's that top tier that if you're not like Nick Merckx or
Yeah.
somebody else high like that, Tim the Tap Man, you're not
Really?
touching, but you are in the top 2%.
Wait, where'd you? I'm gonna have to get proof on these metrics, man. Because even I run the stream and I don't even believe that. No,
Dude,
that's awesome. I'll have to take a look at that, man. That's crazy.
dude, for 6 months, and like your average is about what I want to say 9 to 10, correct, or maybe a little bit more.
9 to 10
viewers.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. The last average is now over the last month. It's over 12.
Yeah, dude, that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
Don't see that.
it's just getting over there.
A lot of people don't even come close to that, man. So that's
Wow.
really really cool.
Well, I see. I always thought. Well, I know that's a little different. I thought affiliate was a little bit easier too, because with affiliate you have to have what? You have to have 50 followers, 3 concurrent viewers, and I think was it 8 total hours streamed within 30 days.
Yeah,
but I know people don't always have that time and stuff like that.
What trips people up a lot is that 3 concurrents. Like I follow this guy.
Oh, really?
Really? Yes, the 3 concurrents is kind of difficult for some people. So I follow this guy on Instagram, and I've followed him for probably around 8 or 9 months, and he is just now getting to the part or to the point in his streaming career where he's able to hit affiliate. He's not even an affiliate yet, and he's been streaming
what
what
an honest individual, because I'd figured people are probably just like pulling up their own streams or something.
Sometimes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get like an extra view or whatever, or having their friend or whatever join in, like, hey, do you mind getting me to that number 3? Dude, what an honest individual though, to like, just like, nope, not doing it. We got to get that honest 3. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I definitely know, like, I don't even know if I could say blessed. I'm not a religious person, but it's like, I'm so fortunate to, like, for the first month we were able to hit affiliate, and, to hit it that quickly. I honestly, so this was my mindset. Because like I said, I've been through some of the most realistic positions you can be in, right? Like going to the military straight out of high school, working for corporations. Like I was like, all right, let's have a realistic outlook on this. I was like, I expected to be streaming to myself for at least like 6 months.
Oh yeah.
I just figured I'd be like, hey, I'll be here, 4 to 6 months, probably just talking to myself or whatever. Hopefully we get some people in eventually. But by the end of the first month, we were able to hit affiliate, which was absolutely nuts, right? It was amazing. And then in that first month, that first month we hit 50 subs.
Dude, that is wild. That is something that regular content creators who don't really focus on Twitch or that stream on Twitch as a hobby don't hit. So that is really, really cool to see that.
Yeah. And that's what and that's kind of what it still is for me too, right? I wish I could do full time right now, but until it becomes kind of like a living type of thing, which man, if it turns out to like that, man, I mean, that would be great. Because there's a lot of ideas that I think of that I just don't have the resources or time to do, unfortunately. But, it's one of those things that's crazy. It's like, some people say that, success is easy when you become successful because there's so many, it gives you so many opportunities or so many options, but it takes so much hard work to be successful in any field anyways. But it's just like, hopefully I can get down to that road one day. Even though this was completely out of the blue, to be honest, I thought it would be something fun to do. That's why I've never taken donations on my stream. Everything's always been to a charity. Like if you go on my stream, like the donation link, it sends you directly to a charity. It doesn't send you to like mine or anything like that. It's just something I decided to do since the beginning. When I first started the stream, I was just like, hey, it's I've always had a strong belief in volunteering your time. I think it's very important to people to volunteer their time at whatever charity they think is important to them, or whatever charities there are out there. There's great websites online that help you find local charities near to you. And so, yeah, so I figured, hey, you know what? This is going to be just for fun. So what I did instead is like, it'll be a kind of fun thing we can do. We'll just pick a different charity every month. And that's where all the donations will go to.
Dude, that is such a wholesome thing, dude. You're regardless if you are a religious person or not, you are a wholesome individual. Like I just feel that from you. So going
That's the
forward,
Midwest in me, man.
true, dude. So another thing I wanted to like quickly just say is that
But the California in me just wants me to take the money and run. So
I understand that. We lived in just about the same place for a good
really
year. Yeah, like I lived in Missouri, St. Louis.
Oh,
Missouri.
really? Whereabouts?
Like so.
Oh, I think you did tell me about this,
Yeah,
actually.
I started out in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, and lived there for 6 months, and then I lived in St. Charles for a good like 4 maybe.
Ooh, number one crime rate in the U.S. What?
Dude, when I heard that, I was like, no way. And
Yeah, I think but I think it's just because it's reported crimes. I think there are definitely other cities out there like Detroit and Chicago and stuff like that that even though St. Louis is it's definitely not a pretty sight right now. There's, oh my gosh, you go around some areas of St. Louis, it is bad.
Oh yeah,
not trying to shed any light on it, but I think there are definitely worse cities out there right now. But they can only go off reported crimes. Sorry, but go ahead. Sorry,
no. I just wanted to throw that fact in there that we kind of lived in the same, almost the same
that's
place
crazy
for a little bit. Yeah, dude. I often think about things like that. Like, what if I ran into you and I didn't know who you were at one point? So my brain always defaults to those things.
Where's about in St. Louis? Did like in like northern, southern, or?
Dude, I honestly I don't know. It was I know St. Charles is kind of off. Like
oh,
it's in St. Louis
dude.
County, and then I lived in downtown.
St. Charles is really close.
Yeah, I lived in downtown St. Louis for like.
Even though St. Louis isn't that big, right? Like that's the thing. It's like St. Louis isn't that big, but
it's not huge.
But you know what's so funny, man? Is because Missouri's still a red state.
Yeah.
Right. So Missouri, it's basically like two different states in its own. Like it's St. Louis and then Missouri. Right. It's so, just so different. It's very just different because the rest outside of maybe Springfield too, right? Because they got Mizzou and all that. So they're pretty progressive out there too. But it's like other than that, man, it's just country and South and but yeah, it's just crazy how Missouri has those just two. It's just two different entire states inside of one, and it's
Kansas City too.
Yeah, that's right, Kansas City too, Kansas City. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting state. It's an interesting state. It's a boring state, and man, that's why they call it misery. Yeah. But
very much so. So going forward, like I kind of want to hear your thoughts on how you got into content creation. Like, where did that all originate from?
So when like I said, like one of the original things when I was like, kid, I wanted to be an actor, right? And I just really liked the expression of it, and I was always very frustrated, and I always thought of it as a good way to kind of let emotions out in a way, and a good way to express yourself, but a good way to kind of express yourself through different characters, right? And I always thought it was and I always liked entertaining people, right? Or I always got more joy out of other people's joy of things. Okay. You know what I mean? So like I'm like, so if there's like a good part in a movie or a good part of something, like, oh, you got to listen to this. No, you got to see this. You got to see this. You're gonna love it. You know what I mean? Because it's you get the joy out of other people's joy of things, right? So and the same thing of wanting to entertain people. I was actually voted best actor out of my high school.
Hey,
but it's just because I think I just had the most friends vote for me. But it was pretty big. What was it? My school was about 3,000 to 4,000 kids. It was a pretty big high school. I went to Hazelwood Central High. out there.
I know where Hazelwood's at.
Yeah. I went to Hazelwood. So yeah, went out there. Content creation. Sorry, sometimes I get a little lost in my internet boomer brain. But so yeah, man, I always liked acting. Sang a little bit. I was like in a band when I was younger too. Right? Who the hell wasn't though? You know, I mean, who wasn't in some kind of terrible ass band? Right. We had one talented musician in the band, and it wasn't me. It was our guitarist, and so yeah, man. We that was fun. Performing was fun. We didn't do anything like big or anything. You know what I mean? It was we made a bunch of like crappy tracks and whatnot. Nothing nobody would give a second listen to. So, but we had fun with it. And it was creation. It was just us having fun and experimenting with stuff. But yeah, man. So, but I did act in a bunch of school plays, stuff at like community center when I was younger. And so yeah, I originally got into content creation that way, as far as like, well, that's what I can think of as far as like entertainment. But as far as like, I always look at it kind of strange as far as like, because I'm just trying to get into YouTube and stuff like that. I'm really starting to think of different YouTube ideas. But because I'm thinking of content creation as far as like now, right? Like how I got into Twitch and stuff like that. Is that kind of more of what you were trying to think of too? Is like how
no, that was a part of it.
Yeah. So it was something I'd always like wanted to do, but it was kind of like one of those childhood dreams of like, come on, you'll never really do that, right? Like it's always, it was always a great dream, but you got to do something to pay bills and be a grown up about, right? So so now that I'm had the free time, then I was like, I started searching the internet again and playing games again and having fun, and then I really didn't know much about Twitch until maybe almost a year before I started streaming. I'd never had the time for it, right? I never had the time for it. So yeah, I found Twitch and always found it really interesting. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I was like, this is crazy. And pretty much anybody can do it. You just link up and, and you just start your stream up, you play some games, you do some entertaining stuff, and pretty much the most entertaining person wins. Right.
Honestly, that's how I feel a lot of times, man.
Right. And honestly, that's a very simplistic way to look at it too, right? Because it's like, it's hard. You got to get people's attention in some way first off, right? You can be very entertaining, but if nobody hears or sees your stream, then they're not going to know if you're entertaining.
It's true. It's true.
So there's especially now, it's a lot more saturated now too. So I wish I would have gotten into it sooner. I really wish I would have gotten into it sooner. I think there would have been some interesting things I could have done if I got into this even sooner, to be honest. Which is why I totally get why kids are just so excited and interested, and everybody wants to be a streamer these days. That's what I was saying before, man. Like when I was younger, like everybody wanted to be an actor, everybody wanted to be a movie star, everybody wanted to be Brad Pitt. But now streaming's taken over that spot. Now everybody wants to be a streamer. Right? Everybody wants to be a professional gamer or a YouTuber. Yes, exactly. Everybody wants to be a YouTuber or a streamer, right? Or a professional Fortnite player. So yeah, that's what's kind of taking, that's what took over that whole, I want to be a famous actor. That's what's taken over that spot now.
In a way, you're kind of living that, like your dream as an actor / entertainer, because you're on stream and you do this all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because you are acting, right? You definitely are acting, right? Because nobody's, you play things up and you add emotion, or it's not you're trying to you're not being fake, or you're not being a complete fabrication. No, you're just trying to be entertaining, right? You're trying to brighten somebody's day, and you're trying to have fun with your day, right? So So this is the way I kind of have fun with my days now.
Dude, totally understand. I wanna I wanna know more about this subject specifically. So,
Okay.
dude, how did you come to be known as Future? Like I've always have wanted to know that.
Really? Well, the legend is written in stone under Stonehenge. No, I'm just kidding. It's so I've always been like I said, I've always been fascinated with like with just like crazy technology and stuff like that. So I've always loved Back to the Future. Back to the Future was a really, really cool just a great movie, and like just the trilogy and just like the movies in general are just awesome to me, and I thought they were really great. And so I was thinking of I was thinking about stream names, right? Whenever I was thinking about making a stream, as you can tell, man, I waited for a while because I wanted to make sure I didn't want to start a crappy stream. I was like, no, I want to make sure I'm prepared. I want to make sure it's it's something that's going to grab people's eyes, right? Well, like whenever I first started, right, I could have started months before, but I waited that year because I wanted to get a good microphone. I wanted to make sure that I had a good setup, or at least a decent one, right? Decent monitors and, a decent computer to run it all, and decent lighting, whatever, or just a decent, a cozy area as well too, because, and I think it was definitely worth the wait. Even though, like I said, I wish I would have gotten into it earlier, but it was definitely worth the wait. Because that's one of the first things people always tell me, because I always ask people like, hey, how'd you catch the stream? What kind of brought you here? It's like, oh man, I just saw your stream look really great. And I was looking at some of the different streams around you, and yours looked really nice. And it was pretty well put together. So yeah, you're looking for something that's catching and grabby and stuff like that. Now, as far as names though, sorry, I know I kind of went off the bend there for a second too. But as far as names, so at first I was thinking Marty McFly, right? What was it? At first I was thinking Marty McFly because I'd always kind of identified with that, right? But then I was like, well, no, that's like an actual person, or it's already a persona, right? So I was like, Marty McFly is already like a fictional character, and it's like, so I was like, I'm not going to go around being like another Marty McFly. So I was like, well, what about Back to the Future? I thought about Back to the Future. What was it? There's a couple other names I had thought of, but then whenever I thought I what was it? And then just out of nowhere, I kind of just thought of, well, what if I just do I'm from the future? Right. I always thought it was kind of catchy, right? I just thought it stood out. Like just kind of when I thought of it, I was just like, oh man, that really stands out. And at first I even thought of I was like, well, should I do a whole like futuristic setup? But I was like, man, I don't know. That can be a lot to maintain. Like I just don't have equipment for all that yet. And I was like, might be a little too much. And plus I was like, I wanted to have more of like a relaxed kind of situation than that. And even though that's super entertaining too, I wanted people to be more of be at more of a relatable level than just strictly entertainment. I feel like that's more of like a Dr. Disrespect kind of thing, right? Where he's just straight up crazy entertaining and, really. And yeah, so man, that's so much respect for what that guy does and what he's been doing for years. So Jesus Christ.
Disrespect. For
yeah, exactly. It's just,
sorry, my dad jokes.
Man, no, dude, it's great. It's, but yeah, it's, you definitely gain so much respect for what he's done and how much work and effort that had to take for, the years that he wasn't huge, still doing the same things. And, well, yeah. So yeah, man. So yeah, it kind of just popped up out of nowhere. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm from the future. But so yeah, I thought about maybe doing a futuristic thing, but I was just like, no, we want to be a little bit more relatable than that. So as far as future though, it kind of just came off of naturally though. It kind of just came off of people because I'm from the future is a very long name. right? And so people just instead of every time, hey, I'm from the future. Hey, I'm from the future. You know what I mean? So,
They're like, yo, just call me Future.
So instead of just, saying a sentence before telling me anything, right? Yeah, people just started saying, naturally just started saying future. And that's kind of where it came from, right? But yeah, as like I said, I wish I had a really cool origin story of, where I'm from the future came from. But that's really where it all stems from is I was a huge Back to the Future fan, or it still am. And that's why you see like all my like emotes, like my sub badges, or not my emotes, but my sub badges are all influenced by Back to the Future. Like my initial 1 month badge, it's the Marty McFly hat. What is it? The 3 month badge is the hoverboard, and then the 6 month badge is the Nike Air Mags, and then the 9th month badge is the DeLorean. Then I'm gonna have the 1 year badge as like a shining gold DeLorean.
Dude, that's
so yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
That's so cool. One thing that makes me smile, man, whenever somebody subs and it was like, yo, you get your own time machine, and I love that so much. It cracks me up every single time.
Yeah, man, that's just I definitely put a lot of time. That's one thing I definitely put a lot of time into the little details, because I think I'm trying to make the most of, because when you're a smaller streamer, man, you don't have all of that extra, you don't have all of those, all the accessibility of a larger streamer, right? So I try to make the most out of what we get, right? So what we do get as the affiliate, we get sub badges, we get sub emotes, and we get channel points. So I've really focused hard on those 3 things to make them stand out, and to make them something that people value. So I spent a lot of time on what we wanted the sub emote, what we wanted the sub emotes to be. Was it the badges? The badges, once I figured that out, that was pretty easy actually, because I was just like, oh man, this will be great. It fits in with the future theme. And people can relate to them. The badges, huge. I think about those so much. Sub badges and the channel points. The channel points, just because it's, is just another way to keep people interacting, whether it's interacting in chat, whether it's interacting with you, interacting with the stream, and it gives them a reason to watch because they need to get more channel points, and able to use them, they got to get more of them, right? So it's basically, marketing and branding 101, right? So trying to use what's at your disposal to gain an influence. So yeah, man, I try to utilize those as, to the maximum value. What do we got? We got those are what we got. So yeah, I'm always trying to think of new ideas for anything. And I get this question a lot from other, when you're a small streamer, man, a majority of your viewers are also streamers, right? Or people that are trying to stream, right? Mm-hmm. So you're always getting the question of, oh wait, hey, I'm thinking about getting into streaming. What, you got any tips? You got any tricks? You got anything like this? And that's one of the main things too, is just, always think the littlest details are really what make the difference, right? Because it's really hard to be original these days. So even though you might think of these tiny differences, these tiny differences make a big difference, because it's very, very difficult to be completely original these days.
100%.
So like, for instance, what is it? So yeah, for instance, there's the whole You Laugh, You Lose challenge. This is something recent that I've started doing on the stream, right? Everybody's heard of the You Laugh, You Lose challenge, and they've been wanting me to do one forever, right? And we did one, but I was just kind of like, it didn't really sit right with me, because I'm like, okay, we did like the main reason too is because I always kind of felt like people just always at the end, they just eventually laugh on the You Laugh, You Lose challenge, because it's just like, oh man, oh crap, that got me. Which, if it's in an entertaining way, never knock it, right? I never want to knock anything that anybody else does that brings people joy or entertains people. But I always kind of thought of it as kind of like it seemed very expected. And that's one thing I always kind of want to surprise people in a way, or bring something new. So I tried to do a whole you laugh, you lose challenge where I was just, not laughing, like just really trying my hardest to not laugh at all. But also it just seemed a little short to me. It seemed pretty cheap. It seemed like a cheap trick to me too. So in order to kind of put my own spin on it, I came up with every time I laugh, I lose. Right. So what I did is instead of just trying my hardest not to laugh, I'll still try, but it's going to happen. Right. We're going to laugh eventually at some of these funny clips. So what I did is instead of just not trying to laugh the whole time is whenever I laughed, each time that I did, we rolled a game of marbles. And on all the marbles, it lists a punishment like, what is it? Doing like a hydrate train, which I don't know if, well, actually, I'll explain what a hydrate train is too. Sorry. So eating a really hot pepper, using a wax strip, random viewer gets a VIP, right? So basically doing every time I laughed, I would have to, roll a marbles game with all these punishments on it. So that way, instead of just trying this whole time, oh my God, is he going to laugh this once? Is he going to laugh once? No, instead of just creating that one moment at the end, now we have it's a whole stream of moments. And it's something different than I've seen. I haven't seen it out there before. I'm not saying it's completely original, right? But it's just that's what I'm saying, though. It's just adding little differences and thinking of little details to make it yours that puts a little bit of originality on it. And it also entertains people in a different way than they've seen before. Right. So, so yeah, and that's been turning out pretty well. Oh yeah, sorry, what a hydrate train is anyway. I don't think I've seen anybody I mean, it's just a name anyway. But where this kind of came from is I just got tired of drinking water. Right. That's one of the first things you get is like, oh, hydrate. Oh, hydrate. That's one of the first original channel points. Hydrate.
Yeah.
Right. And so whenever I first started getting when I first got channel points, people were just, before I thought of a bunch of different type of original channel points that I wanted to do, I had a bunch of the standard ones. So yeah, so people just spam it. People just spam hydrate until the point where I'm literally downing 2 bottles in a row, like at the same time. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. So I just poured the bottle of water over my head, and people loved it. And so I was like, hell with it. All right. Well, let's see how many is it usually in a bottle? All right, about 10 hydrates for a bottle. So hey, if we get 10 hydrates in a row, I'll just pour the damn bottle on my head. How about that, guys? And everybody loved it. So so that's where that was kind of born. But yeah, man. So it's kind of like and that's where it comes in knowing your audience and just kind of going with the flow and being able to like I don't know, just kind of think on your feet. You know what I mean? But
and you definitely do that well. Let me tell you, like your stream is popping. Every time I jump in there, dude, you have a consistent community that loves being there for your streams.
Yeah, man. Honestly, it's amazing, man. I mean, I'm obviously we still have a long way to go, right? It's still a small stream by any means, but it's just amazing having anybody there. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I'm 6 months in now, and this is where I plan to be. We're maybe getting a viewer or so. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it was so incredible to get to that first month, and then get to that second month with having subs and whatnot, and but to actually be here and have like regular individuals, and more importantly, to have people, man, whenever I had to go on a hiatus. And to have people concerned about me like that was crazy. That was kind of crazy. I mean, I'm definitely very thankful for that. But yeah, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? It's hard to put into words.
I understand. When I think about support, it's never just money or views. It's about having people who like really care about how like you,
Yeah.
and what you're
definitely
trying to back your dream. So I definitely understand that. Last topic before we kind of start to wrap things up, dude. I really want to know what type of charity work are you wanting to get into? Like, if it was like
Yeah.
in a perfect world, and you're able to, really start your dream like right now, what type of charity work would it be?
It would be focused in poverty, whether it's in the U.S. or or outside of the U.S. as well too. I think trying to lower the national poverty line, just the national poverty line in general. I think it helps a lot of issues, and I think a lot of the money, spent on projects geared towards helping people, impoverished people, is I think it's a lot of it is misused. I think a lot of it is used in just in very, very, I don't know, misunderstood ways. I don't, just in a lot of ways that just aren't really helping the general issue. Whether it's a lack of research or a lack of trying or a lack of care. And I'm not saying all of these. There are a bunch of really, really great initiatives out there, and a lot of great charities who do very, very important, great work. But I think there are also a lot of charities out there who are just cutting checks, and or people out there just cutting checks to, whether it's for tax purposes or just to social currency. You know what I mean? The real social currency, right? You know what I mean? And by social currency, I mean buying likes, right? Buying people and buying people that like you, right? So buying the general public. So yeah, man. So yeah, and trying to think of anything else. But yeah, so I think that starts off with trying to build communities within within areas that have um, some sort of economic growth. Because one thing I know I'm kind of like all over the place here right now, but the one way it kind of gets misspent, I think that they build these they basically give these families. I've seen a lot of projects where it builds homes for families, but it really doesn't build a future for the family. So it's basically like, oh, hey, we put a roof over your head, but sorry, the place that we built it, they really don't have any jobs for you, or it's there's really no great schools in the area for your kids, or you know what I mean. So it's kind of just like that's why it's hard to go into like to put it in short words. But that's what my main focus would be, is to kind of be focused on a poverty line. So,
dude, that's such a like cool dream to have.
Yeah.
Like, we need more people.
So
like
I would
that.
say what I've worked with the most is, what was it? The charity that I've liked the most though was when we worked with these kids, and excuse me, sorry, where we would give them it was high school kids from 9th grade all the way to 12th grade. And we would essentially help them with business acumen. And every grade they would become more and more acclimated with how to grow a business, how to come up with a business plan, how to work, a budget. And then by the time their senior project, we would actually eventually line them up with internships, but they would completely build a business from the ground up. They would think of a product. They would think of the materials, think of cost, think of how to manufacture it, how much is, you know what I mean? They would factor in all of that. They would come up with an entire business plan. And man, I thought that was such an amazing, it's called Build. The charity is called Build. And man, they do such great work for kids. And I think that was probably one of the coolest organizations I've worked with.
Dude, that's really cool. I love hearing about things like that. Even if I can't facilitate that to my highest being, I'd love to work with things like that. I am in myself. I love people. So I definitely can empathize with what you're coming with.
Dude, man, and those kids, dude, they were geez, they were driven too. Because man, I remember being somewhat of a driven kid, but there's no way I was thinking about business acumen in 10th grade or 11th grade. Man, there's no way. So yeah, that was pretty. It was very impressive. It was very impressive to see, what these high school kids were coming up with, man.
Dude, yeah, I feel that. Well, I thank you for being on with me. The last thing before we go, where can people find you online, Future?
Oh shoot! So you can find me in the future. It'd be twitch.com/ImFromTheFuture. And I do have a YouTube that is full of about 1 million videos. I'm just kidding. It has absolutely no videos, but I'm coming. But I'm starting to post videos. And my main idea with that too is I'm trying to have a whenever I start posting videos, I want it to be on a regular schedule. So I'm trying to make sure it's not just one post here and then another month I'll make another post here. But also, like I said, I'm really focusing on the Twitch right now too. So yeah, that's where I stream pretty regularly. If if at least 5 weeks or 5 days a week. So yeah, sorry, twitch.com/ImFromTheFuture. I do have a Twitter, but everything's found on my Twitch pretty much, man. But hey, thank you so much for having me, man. I've never done anything like this, and couldn't be more honored, man. Be your first guest on the soon to be famous Fissure podcast.
Yes, sir.
The Untraditional podcast, right?
Yeah, the Untraditional podcast, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank 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 you